yeah, I mean, we definitely, think of all the weight of water. So, as sea level rises, when all the water was tied up in the, like at the peak of the last ice age, there was an awful lot of water from the ocean on the land in the form of ice. So the sea levels globally were 120 meters lower. That's 360 feet lower 20,000 years ago. So as the ice is melting quickly, it relieves pressure on the land, but also that water goes into the ocean, and that puts additional pressure on over the ocean floor, right? Yeah. So the whole system is connected, and it's connected at different time frames. So yeah, Bill McGuire, it's called The Angry Earth or something like that. Okay. His book. It's a book a year or two ago. I read it, but I can't remember it because I have too many books.
That's our emotion.
I read too many books. I'll think of it in a minute. But I recommend it's good reading. Like you can get it. I got it in chapters or like it's if you go to chapters, go to the look at the climate books, look at the earth science books, and there's a lot of people are trying to write more clearly for sort of you shouldn't have to be a technical person to pick up these books and to read them, right? And so I think it's just that there's so much information, right? And, which I probably own 2 or 3 times the number of books that I actually get a chance to read. So they look impressive when people on bookshelves and stuff behind me. It impresses the students. They come in and they think, wow, this guy reads so much, he must know so much, right?
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Did a little preview for the kid.
For
your next one.
Oh, for the next one.
Just a general intro.
Actually, I was gonna. I'll ask. Hi, Paul.
Hello. So where's all your questions?
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I would ask a couple questions too that I picked up from social media. So, from Mike Ollinger, I think you know him.
Yes.
On Facebook. His question is, what do you think about the El Nino push over Alaska?
What do I think about the El Nino
push over Alaska? That's how he worded it.
El Nino push over Alaska. What is pushing Alaska?
Yeah.
Push over Alaska. Okay.
Pushing over.
I
The word push, isn't it?
I'm not sure what he means by push over Alaska.
Yeah.
I guess, what do I think about the El Nino? Usually when I have some coherent thought on something, I put it in a video. So I looked at, if you Google Earth Null School, right, then you get really artistic looking, cool looking diagrams of jet streams and temperatures and, ocean current and all the rest of it. You just click on different things and you look at all, and this is all data. So I did a video on the El Nino. I looked at the temperatures and how it was developing and so on. And it looks to be like it could be a very, very large El Nino. But, in the last couple of weeks, other things are happening, so it's not coming on as quickly or as strongly as people thought. So the jury is still out on that. How big it is, and I think it's still got a high probability for coming on. If it does happen, then Alaska's had incredible weather, right? They're getting a lot more rain than they had before. They're getting all California's rain.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
There seems to be this,
reversal.
As the El Nino was developing and so on, there seems to be this huge warm pool just off of the, west coast of the U.S., and the jet streams come along and they can't cross this warm pool. It's like a mountain to them, so they have to either go south or north. And they go north, and when they go north, you just need somewhere on their passageway around the globe where it was before and then just continue its normal pattern around the planet. I mean, if the wave, if it goes really far north or really far south in one location, then it will do that in other locations as well. It's just the nature of the wave. So Alaska, you know, gets pummeled by the rain from this pool. So now when you have, normally when you have an El Nino, you know, you get these characteristic patterns around the planet, like it's, you know, areas, you get areas that get a lot of rainfall, other areas that get drought, and, you know, the areas that get a lot of rainfall aren't used to it, so there's lots of flooding, there's lots of crop damage, there's lots of costs, economic costs, and so on. But see, now you have to take this in combination with this big warm pool that's not at the equator. I mean, the El Nino is mostly an equator effect in terms of the water temperatures in the Pacific, but, you know, now, you know, so if the El Nino goes and develops really strongly, but you still have this warm pool of water still sitting off the west coast, then that's going to, you know, the El Nino won't behave like the normal El Nino necessarily, because this warm pool is going to affect it. So, you know, I think, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in Alaska. I mean, it's you know, I mean, what's happening right now is, you know, we get this, people are saying the polar vortex is back. You know, what they really mean is that the jet streams are really, really wavy, which is unusual for summer, and we're getting almost like a winter type condition pattern of the jet stream in the summer, which we don't normally get. So, you know, the west coast is very, very warm, and then we get low temperatures in the northern part of the U.S. and, you know, so, you know, I think Alaska. I'll have to do another video to try to look at what's going to happen exactly with Alaska. Okay. But in the meantime, I recommend you look at you know, Google Earth.null school or something, and have a look, or I can send them the link, and you can have a look at Alaska over a week or two. You know, look at it every day for 5 minutes, you know, over a week or two, and then see how it's changing.
Okay.
Gives you a good idea. Gives a good idea.
Thank you. Okay, and I got a question here from our friend Harold Hensel.
Oh yes.
Yep, and he asked, it's actually kind of a two-parter, what are the mechanics involved with melting the ice seals on the fractures that contain the mantle methane?
Yes. Sorry. Okay. Could you?
What? So I've been hearing more about this mantle methane lately.
Yes.
What are the mechanics involved with melting the ice seals on the fractures that contain the mantle methane? Because I know he's been, you know, really researching the methane a lot.
The mantle methane. So this is a methane that's you know, much deeper in the like the Earth is like it's like think of an onion, right? And you know, the surface is the lithosphere, you know, where we live, and it's pretty, you know, it's thin in some areas. You know, it might be 30 kilometers thick in some areas, 40 kilometers, and in other areas it's much thicker. And you know, when there's mountains, they push it down and so on. You know, the weight, you know, it's shallower. I mean, it's thinnest in some of the areas of the ocean floor, deep ocean floor. You know, it's maybe 20 to 30 kilometers and so on. And then, so underneath the lithosphere, then you talk about this vast area of the mantle, and then further into the Earth, you have the core and so on. You know, so, and there's convection in the mantle, so there's rock coming up in heat, and then it spreads out, and the continents are floating on top of it. So because of the mantle convection, you get continental drift, and you get fractures and things. So I guess the question, you know, the concern is, you know, how much methane can actually come out from the mantle. And we talked a little bit about this, but not using this terminology with the Bill McGuire book, because you know, when we talk about you know, when we get ice melt, you know, we get ice. You know, when we have a massive ice on the land and it melts, you know, this is a huge weight change on the surface. So things try to readjust, and generally they happen. You know, it takes time to do it, but it depends on the properties of the rock and so so on. And we talk, talk about isostatic rebound, some of the geology. I don't know, if Harold hasn't read this book, the McGuire book, I recommend that he read that book first.
Okay.
And,
Is that Bill McGuire?
McGuire's the expert.
Yeah.
I think most people, it's funny because I have to go through my Facebook because, when I started on Facebook, I was really interested in chess. So I got all these Russian chess players as friends. Now I don't know if many of them are interested in climate change. So most of them are still on there as friends. In fact,
Right.
one of them posted the video of the meteorite which came in Russia. And I reposted it, and then a Facebook friend who works at Sandia National Labs, for NASA, he works at Sandia Labs. He called his whole team in. He saw my video at like 12:30 or 1 in the morning. Called his team in because they were expecting a big meteor the next day, and they thought these chunks maybe were part from that, and it was a big excitement. Anyway, he found out through Facebook, so most authors, have a Facebook page, or so Harold needs like there's the answers are there somewhere,
Right.
right? Like so you ask, he's got the right thing. Ask me, I'll try. I need to read more about Mantle Methane, and I probably should have done it. I didn't know he was going to ask me the question. I think he sent me questions on Facebook before, and I didn't know too much about it. So it's good. You got me, Harold. I'll Mantle Methane now. But McGuire, like email McGuire. What I'm getting at is McGuire. Ask McGuire.
Okay.
Maybe McGuire knows somebody. Maybe we need to get some earth scientists or some physicists who are in earth science to ask. I suspect that it's a longer term process.
Mm-hmm.
I expect that yes, the mantle methane can come up into the atmosphere eventually, but I think there'd be a long lag. I think it's more of a long-term process. I think it's not gonna have a big difference in say the next couple decades or this century. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but I think that would be an issue. Whenever you're asked a question, always think of the time scale.
Right. I'm going to remember that one now.
Yes.
Well, you asked me where were my questions. Actually, a couple of them have already been answered by other people that asked the question. But, when I started learning about climate change 10 years ago, methane was the thing that jumped out, as I went back further.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to get back to that place, but that was when there was so much disinformation that it was almost like a sleuthing thing. And then when I saw, the information about the methane, it was like, uh-oh. And so to kind of watch this just unfold, I was really excited when I found AMEG. And so I've been following them, following you, following other scientists like, I've been following Malcolm and going to the conferences.
Yeah, well, make sure James Hansen.
And Hansen and seen Professor Wadham speak over at AGU. And I heard some comments, that
Did you go out and have a beer with Dr. Wadham?
I'm gonna make sure I go to the AMEG.
I haven't met any of them in person.
I haven't either. I wanna meet him though. This coming year, I plan on going to when they have their press conference. I'm gonna make sure I go to that this time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to have a beer with Wadham, Dr. Wadham.
I would love to talk to him.
AMEG was being attacked by somebody or other, and so I did a video. I was inspired to do a video.
I saw that. Yeah.
Next to Raging Rapids on AMEG.
I saw that.
All of, who AMEG is, and so so on. I've done lots of videos. Not so much recently. I'm doing shingling and climbing trees.
Yeah, you're doing.
I'll get back
doing other life stuff.
Yeah, I'll get back to it when I'm convinced my house isn't gonna fall over or something.
Well, I do have a question, about the methane, And, you know, if you were a betting man, what are the chances, okay, what are the chances, do you think, of a catastrophic release of methane, say, within the next 10 years? Or / 20 years? You know, because I've been following methanetracker.org. I've been watching, you know, the methane until it got, you know, I think as the end of May, he, you know, ran into some financial problems and can't maintain his site. So it's looking really bad.
Yes. I hope the site comes back up. One of the things I'm going to do, I mean, I'm going to download all of the original data from the satellites and analyze that data. I mean, what his site does was very good because it extracted stuff you know, on a regular basis.
Right.
And gave you kind of a picture of it. But so anyway, and the reason I'm not avoiding your question. I'm just giving myself. I'm trying to calculate the odds of a huge methane release, and to answer your question, but I don't. So I'm buying myself a little bit of time, which is a common technique, right? If you don't know the answer to a question, first of all, ask the question to be repeated, and then you can ask for a rewording of the question, and you can keep going. This is what you learn as a student, because you'll get these questions on your on your oral defense, or for your comprehensive exams or something, where they can ask you anything. And eventually you have to, they like you saying you don't know, right? On your this is in academics, you're being grilled by 5 or 6 profs about your work, and they keep asking you stuff, and if you can keep trying to make stuff up or having some semblance of truth, but they'll keep going and going, and then you say you don't know, and then that's great. That's what
like a deposition.
Right? It's okay not to know something, right?
Yeah.
Like politicians need to learn this. They need to learn that if they don't know something, just say I don't know, but I'll look it up. I'll get back to you. Right? It's the best answer sometimes, right? Instead of going on and on. So I don't know. Like in 10 years, see, when we talk about catastrophic release of methane, I'd have to ask what time frame you were talking about. Okay, I'll go back to the time frame because in the records, the Paleo-Eocene thermal maximum. Right, the temperature, we were in a warm planet 55 million years ago, and then the temperature, remember that record I told you? The temperature went up 5 degrees in 13 years. Well, what caused that? It was probably some methane emissions. So,
right.
Can we get the same sort of thing now? I mean, we've seen methane start rising. I think if we were to get, it's not gonna. I don't think it's all gonna be continuing the way it is and then suddenly jump out in 1 year. Okay, I think what we would see is, we'd see the rate that we have now, and then it would double after a couple of years, and then it would double again after a couple more years, and it would double again after a couple more years. So and that on a geological scale, that's a straight line upward, right? To any geologist. So I think it's an extremely high, so your question, for me to answer your question, I would have to look at the scenario, if the Arctic sea ice goes by September of 2016, say, okay, and then if, and I think, that's a non-zero probability. In fact, some models say that it's likely, like the U.S. Naval Graduate School model. Watt is saying that he thinks that can happen. And then if we're correct in thinking that within a couple of years, so say by 2018 or call it 2020, there's no ice in the summer months in the Arctic. So, right, it's open ocean. And then if you know, there's no ice, you know, if within a decade there's no ice year-round in the Arctic. Obviously, the Arctic is much warming. We get a huge melt and huge sea level rise, things sloughing off Greenland. Because sea level is rising sharply, things start sloshing off of Antarctica, right? In these type of conditions, you know, with the Arctic warming that fast, how can methane is going to double or triple or quadruple the rate? It's going to come up.
It's going to happen,
right?
yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just a question of time scale. Like, how long will it take to come up? How long will it take to double or triple? Like the probability of it coming up, you know, it's going to come up. From all of our understanding of the physical system, it's going to come up. This is why, you know, Arctic methane, this is why the group formed, this is why we were all panicking a couple of years ago. You know, I mean, we'd be panicking as much as we were a couple of years ago. It's just that you know, the human condition doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
Like, you can't panic forever,
right?
Because then you get ill, right? So
right.
You panic for a while, and then you kind of reach some acceptance, and now what can we do about it?
Right.
Canada got blew up.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's on its way down.
Yeah.
Internet connection problem.
Hold on, Molly.
Yeah.
Wow, I see
Thank
this,
you.
but
Really
thank you.
interesting.
Well, you want to hit video call again and
Thank you.
do a close with him?
Yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for coming.
Oh,
Blessings.
And,
bye-bye.
Thank you.
okay, let me, yeah.
Oh, you just did regular call there, not
Oh,
video.
did I?
Hit the
Oh.
video thing there, it might change it. Right to your left, there you go. Make sure Canada's still there.
Yeah.
Okay, he's calling
Beckwith.
me now.
Beckwith.
I think you just go down and hang up and try it again. See if he's, now do video call.
Okay, video call.
Yeah, but there's a yellow thing flashing in the corner.
We're connected.
No, that's the little thing saying you're trying to connect.
Yeah, the internet's connected. Because I was kind of worried we were having like sketchy internet here for a while.
Alright, so he's not answering. Phone battery died. Charger had loose connection. Back in a few minutes.
Let me go back in there, okay.
Well, that was on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Facebook's great, isn't it?
Well, this planet is not going to be able to support the number of people on it.
Well, that's the other elephant in the room that never gets talked about is population.
Yeah, the population.
Completely. And
The Great Plains, if they're not going to be creating that wheat, the rice that's being worked down in, I just got back from Cambodia, I gave a talk on Cambodia. The rice fields, if all of that changes, you're not going to be able to feed the people on this planet.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing is, like you said, the population, because
8 billion people.
it makes you wonder if there's going to be some super virus that's...
well, pick your poison, right? It's like he started to say, it can come from anywhere. It's almost like this roulette wheel that's rolling around. Is it going to be radiation? Is it going to be disease? Is it going to be the crops don't grow? Is it going to be water doesn't come down? Is it going to be, you know, this degree of change, this exponential change, which is another hard part for humans to grasp.
Yeah.
That you were talking about too. That it's 2 degrees is so much more than 1 degree. You know, in overall baseline stuff, that
Right.
the magnification of the shit that's going to go down when it gets to 2 I mean, we're already seeing massive stuff at 0.85, and the thought of that going up, it magnifies immensely, and so then all bets are off, like he's saying.
Yeah.
You know, if the ice is all melted.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, I kept getting these. I knew my phone was dying, but I thought it would tell me down to 5% charge, and I was going to plug it in, and it never told me that. It just kind of crapped out in the end. So
I don't know about this.
I went and found my. So anyway, I'm back in business.
Great.
I'm charged up. I'm charging as we speak.
You're charging. Yeah, we're talking about the methane. You know, someone actually had a question. You know, I don't have it on here, but I remember the question. It was from someone on Facebook that talked about, is there a way to like blanket the Arctic through some type of geoengineering to keep the methane from coming up?
Okay, so the
Plastic
the
bag.
whole idea of I mentioned earlier about geoengineering to cool the Arctic, and also about a blog I wrote called Anthropogenic Arctic Volcano, which people can Google. I mean, that's just a basis. There are some geoengineering email groups that are quite technical, you know, a bunch of scientists that I'm on. I mean, mostly I just kind of lurk there and get information from them. So the Arctic, so the idea is if you put a lot of sulfur dioxide in the stratosphere in the Arctic in the summer, it will cool the region. The idea is you want to cool it enough, you know, a couple of degrees to, you know, to start getting more ice growth, like the sea ice, so it doesn't keep declining. So it's gray to create clouds, low-level clouds in the summer in the Arctic to cause cooling at the surface. There's other different ideas. If you do it up in the Arctic, you can cause a local cooling in that region. And the idea, you know, my thinking, my way of thinking, you know, high level, high top view thinking, you know, our problem with extreme weather events are, so here's the scenario where I think we'll do this. You know, I think the sea ice will continue to decline sharply. I think that the jet streams will become much worse than they are now, much more distorted, much more unpredictable. The climate system will become much more fractured because we'll get much more equalization of temperature in the northern hemisphere. We won't have such a strong north to south temperature gradient, temperature difference. You know, so then we will have a collapse of food for a couple of years, and many people will starve, or prices will go very, very high, and